Implausible Nature now has dice. That's right, you can get these awesome D6s made by our partner Baron of Dice. These custom dice have the Implausible Nature logo on the 6 side and also come with square corners, which means they will roll more evenly than rounded corner dice. Head on over to baronofdice.com and use discount code IN40K to get a discount on your order and support us at the same time. Check out his full collection of dice for all your gaming needs with the link down in the description.
Welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. On today's video, we've got another detachment deep dive for you. Today we are talking about Vindication Task Force. Sort of the least excited detachment that people were excited for, mainly due to the fact that it revolves around ancients, and most of the ancients are really bad in the codex. So, you know, you're going to pay a tax to play this detachment. But I think there's still some things that are in this detachment that are pretty good. And if you can get around the ancient tax, or pay as little tax as possible, I think it can be a decent detachment. But before we get started, we do want to shout out a couple of new members to our Patreon and our YouTube. Bob, who are our newest Patreon members?
We have Nimulut and Joshua Eisel. So
Awesome.
Thank you for supporting us.
Yes, thank you so much for supporting us. Make sure you join the Discord where you can get a special role, a chat, special chat where Discord channel in the Discord where we can talk only with other patrons. So very cool stuff there. And then over on our YouTube side, we have in the last couple weeks, we have 3 new YouTube members that we want to thank. The first is, forgive me if I butcher this, Matthew, Damian Hines, and Daniel Curl. So thank you again for your support. Greatly appreciate it. We couldn't do this without you guys. So thank you. All right. Well, let's get into it and start off by discussing the Detachment Rule. This one is called Purge and Sanctify. The first part of it is each time an attack targets an ancient unit from your army, so again, it's got to be a unit with an ancient in it. If that unit is within range of one or more objective markers, and the strength characteristic of that attack is greater than the toughness characteristic of that unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So -1 to wound is really good. The problem is that it's got to be an ancient unit, and it's got to be on an objective. So pretty specific there. But if you can make it work, then that's a good buff. Again, if very specific.
Yeah, I agree that there's definitely the tax that you have to have the ancient, and it has to be something that you want to be sitting on an objective, or at least attacking one. So
Yeah, exactly. All right, so the second part of this is each time a Crusader squad from your army makes a Righteous Zeal move, that unit can end that move as close as possible to the closest objective marker instead of as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. Again, very specific, but very good to be able to surge towards an objective instead of the enemy. Obviously, we want to, purge the Xenos and kill the heretic, but sometimes it's better to stay on the objective, especially if you have a ancient in there to give you that -1 to wound, which is really what this detachment is all about. So thoughts on the detachment rule, Bob?
I think overall it's a little bit restrictive. At first glance, if you're going by nothing else, this is probably one of the more weaker ones, but it does give some durability, in the other detachments do not give that. So this is going to be where you're going to be looking if you want that style of play.
Yeah, this is definitely the durability detachment, but again, pretty restrictive on it. Requires ancients, wants you to take Crusader squads. So yeah. All right. So let's take a look at the enhancements. There's actually some pretty good enhancements here. The first one is Imperialis of the Eternal Crusade. This is an ancient model only. Each time an enemy unit selects the bearer's unit as a target of a charge, subtract 2 from the charge roll. This is not cumulative with any other negative modifiers to that charge roll. I'm not aware of any other negative modifiers that we can apply to a charge roll, but it's not cumulative with them if it comes up. But yeah. So it's decent. -2 to charge. Always good.
Yeah, it's something that we can certainly take advantage of if you want something off of your objective. We've had issues with some of those Tau enhancements that get that -2. I believe there's the NIDs have that as well. It's kind of annoying if you're taking that 2 inches off and you're like, oh man, I got to get there, and you just take it off. But I mean, again, it has to be on an ancient model, so
Yep.
it's yeah.
It is also only 15 points, so it's at least not too expensive of an enhancement there. Next up is Consecrating Aura. This is Adeptus Astartes, so anybody can take it. Models in the bearer's unit have a 5+ invulnerable save. So this is really going to be mainly useful on a giant blob of Crusaders because those neophytes only have a 4+ save, and we'll talk about more of the synergy there, but really can mess with the opponent's AP stuff, where you're basically making them waste AP on a model with a 4+ save. Other than that, I can't think of. I mean, I guess you could put it on Sword Bros. Maybe. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, this is okay. It's decent. I mean, it's a 5+ invulnerable save that there's probably few units that you're going to really want it on, that you're going to be taking in this detachment. But Sword Brethren comes to mind. As mentioned, you have the Crusader Squad that comes to mind as well. There's not really like a ton of else in there, but having a 5+ invulnerable saves does help you against higher AP things, which if you're planning on facing certain things, that might be the case. But power weapons are kind of the standard -2, so you're going to be hitting that, getting to that 5+ anyway, so it's going to be a little bit redundant.
Unlike Wrathful Processions invul, it is against anything. So melee, it would be, if they're hitting you hard and something in melee, you'll still get a 5+, which is, okay. It is also pretty expensive. It's 25 points. All right. Next up is the Orb of the Emperor's Aegis. Adeptus Astartes model only. Models in the bearer's unit have the Deep Strike ability. Now, I remember when we first were reading these, when this information was given to us, Bob was like, meh, I don't like that one. But now that we've seen the Emperor's Champions data sheet, I think we have a different opinion of this.
Yeah, I still think it's a little meh, but it's pretty good on the Emperor's Champion.
Yeah.
So
it's also for 10 points.
Yeah, 10
for
points.
10 points? Okay. And there's some other neat things that we've thought of too that we'll talk about in the Synergies section. But for 10 points, giving something the ability to deep strike that wouldn't have it otherwise, not a terrible take of a enhancement, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
it's better than paying the drop pod tax.
It is much better than paying the drop pod tax. And I mean, it's like you said, it's not amazing. It's a bit meh, but I mean, 10 points is really cheap, and it's not like it's the worst one by, in the thing. Like you're probably going to I'd probably take this over the -2 to charge, depending on what I'm putting it on, right? So, in any case, last one is Warden of Honor. This is Crusade Ancient only. That is our specific Ancient. While the bearer is leading a unit, each time you roll 1d6 for the bearer's Vengeful Exhortation ability, that's the Fight on Death ability, add 1 to the result. So now they'll fight on death on a 3+ instead of a 4+. It is 20 points. I know Bob's not too hot on this one, but to be honest, I mean, if we're going to be forced to take Ancients anyway, we might as well fight on death on a 3-up for an important unit. So, if you got the points, I like it. I mean, but your mileage may vary.
Yeah, I honestly would be taking the 3 other ones over this one. Yeah, it's nicer to get Fight on Death on 3 over a 4, but like I mentioned in our stream, I feel like this is one of those ones where it's kind of like, do we really want to spend the time, especially if you're wanting to stand on the objective and you're getting shot at? And I think it's not worth it, in my opinion. But
That's fair.
eh, eh.
Yeah.
If you can kind of gather, my enthusiasm for the enhancements are kind of not so great, but I think that the
There's a couple
stratagems
okay
gonna make up
ones.
for it.
Yeah, the stratagems are pretty good in this detachment, honestly. The enhancements are okay. They're not great. They're not terrible. So, I can live with the enhancements. All right. Especially as like restrictive as this is, the enhancements are at least not terribly restrictive. There's the Crusade Ancient one, and there's the other one that is Ancient only, but that would be decent on something like you that wants to stand somewhere and not be attacked. Like Terminators standing on the middle of the board. Like, yeah, have -2 to charge. All right, so let's talk about these stratagems. So first up, 1 CP is Refusal to Yield. This is in any phase just after an ancient model from your army is destroyed. That target is that ancient model. You can use a stratagem on that model even though it was just destroyed. Basically, it's stand back up. So same thing as all the other like resurrect strats or abilities, like the Necron's one, except it is ancients only. And of course, you can't target the same model with it more than once. So in a detachment that forces you to take probably one of the worst, if not the worst, character type in the Space Marine Codex, at least you can spend a CP and stand that guy back up and be annoying.
Yeah, I feel like this has some niche uses that can be really annoying for your opponent, especially if they kill that unit off, because it is at the end of the phase.
Yeah.
So you can pop that ancient right back up and you still own the objective. So that's kind of
maybe
annoying.
they tried to shoot you off and you're like, nope, I'm going to stand back up at the end of the phase. Good luck.
It could be especially annoying if you have the Crusade Ancient, which we'll probably talk about in this video.
Yes.
When it's sitting at the 6 OC and it comes up. So that would be kind of annoying that all of a sudden it just takes the objective away from something else as well. So I think it has some niche uses that, I mean, your opponent has to account for. So
yeah, absolutely. All right. Litanies of Purgation. This is 1 CP in the fight phase. 1 Adeptus Astartes from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, if that model's unit is within range of 1 or more objective markers, or the target unit is within range of 1 or more objective markers, improve the AP of that attack by 1. So, as we've seen on our recent Templar Tips video, improving your AP by 1 is a pretty significant buff to the damage output of, well, anything. Unless you're going into something that has an invul, even then, like those Crusaders with their chainswords that are AP 1, they really like being AP 2. Yes, this is restrictive, that either one of you has to be on the objective, but, I mean, we're in a game where we're fighting over objectives, right? So you're probably going to have plenty of opportunity to use this, and it is unrestricted in who you can target. You do not need to target an ancient unit, any Adeptus Astartes unit. So I really like the strat. I think it is a solid damage boost for us.
Yeah, AP +1 is extremely, extremely powerful. It's useful against all target types, whether they are infantry, vehicles, monsters, what have you. The only thing that it really would really not be beneficial against is something with a really good invul save, so obviously be smart about it. But in general, this is a very, very big melee boosting damage.
Yeah.
So you'll see the math on it in the Templar tips, but it is definitely one of the better ones that we have access to.
Yep, absolutely. All right, next up for 1 CP is Spoor of the Unholy. This is in your shooting phase or the fight phase. You target one Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the Ignores Cover ability, and each time a model in your unit makes an attack, you can ignore any modifiers to the following: the ballistic skill, weapon skill, or the hit roll. I wish it included the wound roll, but it does not, because ballistic skill, weapon skill, there's like almost nothing in the game that affects your ballistic skill or your weapon skill. However, there's plenty of minus to hit. Things with stealth, all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
lots of things. This is solid, especially for shooting. Repulsor executioners really like this. Stripping cover from stuff is effectively 1/8 plus 1 AP. Yeah, I think it's a solid, useful strat when you need it.
Yeah, I think this is, like you mentioned, especially good for shooting units, which is probably the only time you'll see something in any of our detachments that have a buff for shooting, because it is the ignore cover, which is that
Yeah.
AP, and then you can ignore the -1 to hit, which is there's a ton of stuff, whether it be vehicles or stealth, that type of thing. It's very powerful to be able to get both no cover and not get affected by the hit. That's huge. So this is a good one for your probably the very few shooting things that you have in your list. Let's be honest here, but I like it. I mean,
I like
it's
it too.
pretty basic, but it's a good take.
Yeah,
For 1 CP.
cover's very easy to get, and stealth is out there. There's lots of things that make you -1 to hit, so I think it's a good shooting strat. All right, next up we have Reclaim Our Honor. 1 CP, your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, either fight phase, just after an enemy unit destroys an ancient model from your army that has not been targeted with the refusal to yield stratagem this phase. So sadly, and that has the restriction as well. You can't use this on him. So maybe it's the second time he died. But yeah, it would be really funny if you could be like, yeah, kill this guy, and then, oh, I stand back up too and get this bonus. But you can't. So you target one Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that is visible to the enemy, and then until the end of the battle, each time any Adeptus Astartes unit from your army makes an attack roll that targets that enemy unit, add +1 to hit. So, like, this is cute and thematic, and +1 to hit is nice, like, especially if it's like something that you want to get +1 to hit against that killed your ancient. But to be honest, it's kind of eh.
Yeah, this is very tough to really pull off on the battlefield. You really have to play around with the other stratagems like refusal to yield. You have to revive something, then hope that they kill that ancient in the fight phase, which is probably not going to happen. Or
It says or
what
shooting
they'll
phase.
do. Well, yes. So, like you time it up. They shoot them or they kill the unit in your shooting phase. Then you revive it, and then in the fight phase, then they would kill it potentially.
I gotcha.
Yeah, kill it again. Or you have to wait until they shoot it and kill it some other time. So there's just the one unit, and then they're just going to use just a basic unit to kill it with, chaff killing guns, and then okay, now you're going to get the +1 on that little 5-man unit that you don't really care about it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of kind of restrictions on this one that kind of make it really hard to use, and probably not going to come up too often.
Something you can do that's a bit of a meme, but it's not too many points if you want to try to trigger this early, is take a Blade Guard veteran or Blade Guard Ancient for 45 points and just suicide him out into the center of the board. Trigger this at the beginning of the game. There's note that this is not once per game. You can use this every time they kill an Ancient. So you could potentially stack this on multiple units, but that's kind of a meme thing that you could do. Maybe an actual use for the Blade Guard Ancient, because he's
just to go die.
To go die.
So, as you give up 1 million assassinate points.
I mean, most people are taking not taking assassinate and not taking fixed objectives anyway. So I think they're, even with all the characters that we have, I think it's still a trap. So in any case, so that would be kind of funny. So other than that, really niche use kind of on this, really kind of just it's cute, but it's not going to change your game all that much, in my opinion. So in any case, next up is Recitation of the Revered. This is 1 CP, your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its target, 1 ancient unit from your army, so again, tied to ancients, that was selected as one or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So -1 to hit, pretty good. If you're standing on an objective, now you're -1 to hit, -1 to wound. That's a solid debuff.
We were just talking about all the -1s.
All the -1. Here it is.
Here it is. So this is where you can see where there's some defensive traits here. So this is a great one for 1 CP. If you're sitting on that objective, bam, there you go.
There we go. Can make you pretty durable. So of course it doesn't help you against torrent weapons, but you're not going to use it against that. So I think it's really good, to be able to get another defensive buff in sort of the defensive, detachment. Again, it is ancient locked, but that's sort of, you're going to want to try to run a bunch of ancients. How many? Sort of, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit here. And then last but most definitely not least, this is my favorite stratagem because it's very Black Templar in the detachment. It is 2 CP, and it is Perfervid Intervention. And it is at the end of your opponent's charge phase, 1 Adeptus Astartes. Thank you. It's not locked to Ancients. Unit from your army that is within 6 inches of 1 or more enemy units and would be eligible to declare a charge against 1 or more of those enemy units if it were your charge phase. The effect is you now declare a charge and resolve that charge. You do not get the charge bonus, which is fights first, but it's their fight phase anyway, so unless you're charging something with fights first, you're going to fight first anyway. Now, something I want to... This sounds like, it's just Heroic Intervention. It's not, because you don't have to be... They don't... Like, Heroic Intervention is when they charge, if you're within 6 inches of the unit that charged. This is, you are within 6 inches of literally any unit in their army, you can charge at the end of their fight phase. Or, excuse me, at the end of their charge phase. That's really good. So, yeah. I like this one a lot. With the surge moves that we have with, like, Crusaders, maybe you didn't quite make it there. Or maybe you move towards an objective and, they're coming to that objective, or you move towards the objective in the direction of them. Number of different ways that you can work this. If you didn't quite make it there with the Crusaders, but now you're within 6 inches, now you can charge them. It does cost 2 CP, so it's pretty hefty. You're not going to be spamming it, but very, very good to be able to just charge on their turn.
Yeah, this has a multitude of great applications during the battlefield, whether they walked up to an objective but stopped short of you so that you would not charge them, whatever reason they wanted to do that, or maybe they have fights first on that particular thing. Um, just just a ton of different applications where that might be useful to charge into them if they just get within range of you. Um, Even if you're just throwing a screen at it, I mean, 2 CP is not nothing. It
No.
is kind of hefty, but it does give you the choice of going at any unit, as Alex mentioned. That's a lot more beneficial than Heroic Intervention is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times what they'll do is they'll charge something with you and you're forced to go into that one, and you don't want to get that one. You want to get the thing that's behind it.
Or they're going to make
Or
sure, oh, I know you can heroic here. I want to avoid that, so I'm going to stay away 6 inches from you so that way you can't do it. This is literally like, if I have 2 CP, and this is like where you can play mind games. Hey, just a reminder, I've got 2 CP. I can charge any of your units that are within 6 inches of mine at the end of your charge phase. So that's going to like play mind games. It's going to force your opponent to think about, how close do I really want to get? Am I okay with getting charged? That kind of thing. So a ton of application for this, whether you use it or not. It's going to affect the battle if you have the CP for it.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good stratagem.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So that is all of the strats and enhancements for Vindication Task Force. Bob, what is your overall thoughts on the detachment before we get into synergies?
All right, so I'll rank it like I kind of did the last time around. So 1 being the worst detachment we've ever seen, and 10 being the best thing. It's probably right now like a 3, maybe a 4. So I
Pretty
think
low.
there is ways to potentially unlock this, and we'll talk about some of them. And maybe someone will come up with something a little bit more out of the box that I haven't thought of yet. And, again, this is early on in our book. We've had these rules, what, a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. So it's still early on, but this is by far the weakest in our book. With the amount of tax that we have to pay, at least with Godhammer, we could have vehicles that could contribute to the battle. Well, the Ancient doesn't really contribute much. He does add a couple attacks here and there, and depending on the Ancient, it might give us some buffs to the unit itself. But in general, it's not going to give us much. The data sheets across the board are not good. So you have to take those, even if they're fairly cheap-ish. That's still a bunch of things that you need to put onto your units that you would rather have other character buffing just to make them more beneficial, um, to really take advantage of both the detachment skills and the multiple of these stratagems. I think there's 2 of them that require the ancient, and then obviously you have the enhancements, which
2
there
enhancements.
is 2 of those as well. So, I mean, I feel like this is something that you are probably not going to take unless you're taking a very skewed list that we're going to kind of talk about in a little bit here.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
I
there's
would say
3
probably
strats
closer to 3.
that require an ancient to be involved. So, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about
3.
our ancient actually here, since this detachment revolves so heavily around ancient. So let's take a look at his data sheet here and go over that. All right. So as you can see here, here is his data sheet. He's got the pretty standard Space Marine character stat line. No invulnerable save, which, we wouldn't expect one from Ancients. It's got a wee bolt pistol to shoot with. He does have a decent melee profile. He's packing a mastercrafted power weapon with lethal hits and 5 attacks, hitting on 2s. So he's solid in melee, which I'm glad, because all the other Ancients, except maybe the Terminator one, are terrible. The Blade Guard guy, Blade Guard guy doesn't even have a weapon. He's,
close combat weapon.
But he doesn't have a real weapon. He's like clubbing. He's pistol whipping people with his pistol is what he's doing.
Doesn't he have that hand? I think he's hitting them with a skeleton hand.
But he's slapping them with the skeleton hand. That's right. Yeah, he's slapping them with the skeleton hand. Which also is probably shooting his heavy bolt pistol. So anyway, he actually hits hard in melee. 5 attacks at 2+ with a lethal hits mastercraft power weapon is nothing to sneeze at. So at least he has a good melee profile. It's befitting a Black Templar.
And he does look cool.
He looks amazing. The model is sick. I pre-ordered one just because I want the model. Something that he can be attached only to Crusader Squads or Sword Brethren. But something that is important to note here is, just like other Ancients, he can go with a Lieutenant, a Captain, Chapter Master, but he can also go with an Execrator, which is nice because none of the other chaplains can have another leader with them, right? So he can double up with an Execrator, which is really nice. Now, that's the good part. So now for the bad part. We talked about this a little earlier.
Everything else.
Fight on death isn't horrible, but it's also not great. If it were just automatic fight on death, it would be a lot better. But this is, you have to roll a 4+, which is they couldn't have just made it automatic. And then he has martial honor, and the first time a model in this model's unit makes a melee attack that destroys one or more enemy units, until the end of the battle, while this model's unit is not battle shocked, add 5 to his OC. So he becomes OC when his unit kills something, which is probably going to happen. So OC 6 is, decent, but again, nothing to write home about. Both these abilities are just very meh. I could live with them if he were really cheap. But according to the MFM points, currently he is 65 points. That is really hard to swallow. The basic Ancient, the regular Tacticus one, is 50 points. If this dude were 50 points, okay. Yeah, 50 points. I can get behind 50 points, maybe even 45.
You're paying 15 points for the Mastercrafted Power Sword.
Basically, that's what you're doing. So yeah. So that being said, we have to take Ancients in this detachment. And of the Ancients available, the only other one who is any kind of decent is the Terminator Ancient, and obviously he can only go with Terminators. So getting into our synergies here, there are 4 Ancients that we have access to. There's the Ancient Terminator. There's the Crusade Ancient, ours. There's the Basic Ancient, and then the aforementioned Blade Guard Ancient. So those are the 4 options. They range from 45 to 75 points. Now the Terminator guy I think is 75, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it's a Terminator with the Ancient. His ability is actually solid. +1 to hit when you take a loss, so when you're below starting strength. +1 to wound when you're below half strength. And he gives +1 OC, which Terminators really like because they're only 1 OC to begin with. So he's actually solid for an Ancient, but you're probably not running more than 1 Terminator block.
Or are you?
Or are you? So that's a possibility. So Bob, let's talk a little bit about, obviously this detachment revolves around Ancients. How many Ancients are you looking to take in a list? Do you think that is a good number? And what are those ancients that you're gonna be looking to take?
All right. Well, it really depends on the list that you're taking, obviously. I'm going to say that every time.
The
But
non-answer. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
so I think like my early list brewing has been 3 to 4. But I've kind of skewed towards one ancient over another one. I think the Crusade Ancient is good if you're going to take one block of 20 Crusader Squads. Gonna throw him in there. Maybe you can put the Execrator with him as well to
Might
kind
as
of
well get the advance in
beam up
charge.
and get there in the
And you
middle
can
of the
give them the
board.
5-up invulnerable save.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's something you can do with this. I think you only take one of those, that little combo, just because this is really the only thing you're going to do for it is get it to the board as quickly as you can. You do want to have fight from death on that. But again, it would be better if it's auto. I think it's feel bad with all those other things in the game that have auto fight on death, and this one just does not. I don't know what it is about not giving like regular Black Templars fight on death. That just would be very thematic.
Yeah.
But I whatever. It's
Or if he were
whatever.
cheaper. And again, that can change. So that's another thing about this attachment. Yeah, there's a tax. But if ancients ever suddenly, like the other ancients, ever suddenly became good, like there's talk that there might be a second Space Marine Codex, or just in 11th edition, ancients could become better. This detachment could suddenly become very good if ancients are something that we want to take anyway.
Yeah. So that's it. So for him, I would take the one. But the other one that I'm really kind of looking at, I am not looking at the Blade Guard Ancient because that thing is just atrocious. It's really bad, and it doesn't combo with anything else that you want to put with the Blade Guard veterans.
Nope.
You want to have a Judiciar or a lieutenant with them, ideally. So then they're kind of locked out. Well, rather, you can still put it with the captain and lieutenant, I guess, but still, I mean, it just doesn't do much for you. You're gonna get the one ace OC, and then you get to pop the one time per game. You can add one more attack to everything.
It's not
just
worth 45 points.
no, it's really bad.
Yeah.
So then that leaves you with the ancient, which the basic ancient is the one OC, which I mean that's okay. You can take that. And then you can give something that is within 6 inches of it, the center of the. I'm sorry.
He gets.
While the model is within range of an objective marker or within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield, this model has a 4-up feel no pain.
Yeah.
Which is very blah.
Very blah.
It doesn't care about that. If it was for everything, then it'd be like, sign me up.
We'd be
But,
taking
of course.
3 of those in every list if it was the whole unit, but GW does not want massed feel no pain saves anymore, as evidenced by the fact that we lost ours. Every army that's really had massed feel no pains has lost it when they got their codex, so probably for the best. It's now reserved mostly to like single models or against mortal wounds or something like that. So
So that leaves just the single one, which is the Terminator.
the Terminator
So
Ancient.
we talked about it already about what it does is so if you take damage or you lose a model, you get the +1 to hit roll, and if you're under half, you get to also add 1 to the wound roll. But honestly, we don't really care about that now because we have the vows.
Yeah.
So that's just something that we just don't. But it is useful if you're taking Terminators, obviously, because you probably are going to be taking Thunderhammers and or Power Fists. So you're going to be above most standard toughnesses. So you will get that +1. This guy can take a slew of different weaponry.
Pretty much whatever Terminator weapon he wants.
Yeah. So that's useful.
I'd probably just take him with the Thunderhammer and Storm Shield, to be honest.
Yeah.
Or even just a Thunderhammer if you want a Stormbolter for some reason. But yeah, he's quite good, and that was the first thing I thought of when I saw this detachment. I was like, well, what about a 10-man block of Terminators? They'd be pretty annoying, being -1 to wound on an objective, which, you know, is what you want them to do, because they're not especially amazing in melee, but they are pretty durable, and if you stand them up in the middle of the board and just be like, try to push me off, they're going to be really hard to shift, especially with -1 to wound and tough 5. So I think that is probably one of the best synergies that this detachment has. I also like the synergy of taking Crusade Ancient and or, you know, Execrator with the 5-up invulnerable save on a Crusader blob. I think that gives you another big tanky unit to put in the center of the board. Obviously, this detachment wants to synergize with Crusader Squads, so you probably should run a couple of like 10-man Crusader Squads, I would think. Would you consider an Ancient with something like that, Bob, or just run them by themselves?
10-man? I would just run them by themselves.
Yeah.
So, like we mentioned, that you do want to have them for the ability to get the detachment rule, the -1 if you're above, and then you have the 2 enhancements and the 3 stratagems. So, but not everything is tied to an ancient. So you do have some flexibility in the list, but I don't think you need to put an ancient with the 10-man squad, because if
you don't need like 6 ancients in the list.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. One thing that we kind of touched on a little bit, and I kind of hinter out, is what if we kind of take a Deathwing approach to this detachment and load up on Terminators? So I don't know if it's going to be something that's viable. You could do a 10-man unit, you could do a bunch of little 5-mans, but what the meme of 30 Terminators? I don't know how effective that would be, but
have you let 30 Terminators into your heart, Bob?
I don't know. Let's see. We can do it. We got Terminators coming, I guess, right?
I would assume so. I cannot imagine they'd full scale or new scale, Primaris scale, whatever you want to call it, the regular Terminators and not the Assault Terminators. I'm waiting for those because I'm buying 2 boxes because they look awesome, and I'm going to Templar them up. Yeah.
And then there's also, like, we do have the Terminators themselves, the regular Terminators that came in our book as well, with the new rule. So you can also combo them with that if you want some shooty elements, and they almost do nearly as much as the Thunderhammer and Storm Shield Terminators do. So you do have that option for some shooting capability as well with
not as durable
Cyclone missile launcher,
because they only have 3 wounds.
That is correct. So,
but we also no longer have the Feel No Pain to mess with people's damage stuff. If they're cheap enough, yeah, possibly. Would you run 3 Terminator Ancients if you were going Deathwing approach with this?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would.
So, yeah, I've been kind of fiddling with a list of like 2 blobs of, like, a blob of Terminators and a blob of Crusaders, both with an Ancient, obviously, and then trying to fill in the other pieces around it. But I haven't found a list that I really like yet. Those 2 units just take up so many points that it's kind of hard to fill out the rest of the list and still feel like I have more than 2 units to interact with the detachment rule.
Yeah, so I think that's the biggest problem, is that this list you have to put so much into the things that it wants to do, that you're not going to have the support pieces to really play a lot of the game. But again, It's still early on. I'm sure there's going to be someone that's going to unlock it and get the games in to really kind of make it. But early impression is 120-man block of Crusader Squads is going to be good. At least one block of Terminators is going to be good.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to do with the rest of it and fill out those spaces? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I think. It's very admittedly low power. It's very thematic. This is one of the detachments that if you're a painter, this is the one that you want to have in your display case because it looks awesome.
It looks awesome.
Have
all those banners.
Those things on there.
Banners are cool. I really wish they had given Grimaldus the ancient keyword as well, because he does tote around, as Servitor totes around a banner from the Temple of the Emperor Ascendant. So it would have been really cool and thematic if he had got that keyword and made him really useful in this detachment. But
company heroes would be also
company heroes technically work as well, but you have to take a captain with them, and really they're just they don't do anything that we need. I guess it's kind of a meme that you can, I've got the company heroes ancient, you know what I mean? You're stuck spending a captain plus, what are they, 95 points?
Yeah, but they're also very durable because you have multiple different things that you can
That's true.
stash things on. So I mean,
That's true.
They do have some play in this as well. So that would be something that you want to take a look at, because they do have the ancient keyword, so they can sit on an objective. We did not talk about it. I didn't forget. So that's one unit that that's possible that you can do some things with.
Yeah, you're looking at, so what's that? 175 points for the unit.
Yeah, and that's one that you don't have to have on the objective because it has the -1 to the wound roll native. So.
Oh yeah, as long as there's a character attached to them or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they would get it if someone had +1 to wound or something, and you were on an objective. You'd wash that out, which is nice. But they don't have to stand on the objective to get that bonus, which is handy. I don't know if 175 points is something I want to spend on for that. It is a cool looking squad, though. I will give them that. They do have some. They've got some neat models in there, which is cool. So yeah. So that's another option that you can do. The captains aren't bad. You could also on that you can also pop the -1 to hit strat on them for free, because the captain gives you that -1 CP strat ability, which is nice. Speaking, while we're on the topic of the ancients themselves, and it's not a great idea, but it's something you can do, is you can take a regular ancient with an intercessor squad, and his bolt rifle benefits from the intercessor's rule. So a couple extra shots if you want. It's 130 points for the unit. You get another ancient unit in your list. So I'm not saying it's a good idea.
Unit.
What? Oh, a 10-man unit? Yeah, I mean, you could do a 10-man unit if you want to. I was thinking a 5-man just because I like a 5-man intercessor. But yeah, it's a thing you could do. Is it a good idea? Well, I guess it depends on your points and what else you got going on. If you can squeeze it in without being detrimental to your list, might be okay. Something that so we talked a little bit about that deep strike enhancement. A couple of fun things. We mentioned the Emperor's Champion. We'll talk about him. But something else that I thought of, which I liked, actually someone suggested on our Discord, and I can't remember who, so forgive me. But they suggested the Eradicators with either a Gravis Captain or a Biologist, probably a Biologist because he gives the lethals. With a deep strike thing, now you can deep strike Eradicators, which doesn't sound too bad. Granted, you'll be out of melter range, but you'd be at a melter range coming out of reserves anyway. It overcomes their slowness, and they're no longer tethered to the side of the board for 10 points on that unit. It's not bad.
Yeah, you can't complain about that. That's a good way of getting some Melta where exactly you need it, and you definitely they have a little bit more extra durability, so that you know they're not going to just get shot off the board right away.
Yep.
Because they are in Gravis, but just strategically drop them in is something that's kind of cool that you can do.
Yep. The Emperor's Champion, good candidate for this too. He does have Lone Operative. So even if you brought him a squad of like Assault Intercessors to go with him, you could decide, you know what, I'm not going to put him with them and I'm going to deep strike him by himself. Could be something that you could do, because he also, if you can position him correctly, him and his squad, you can get +2 to charge out of deep strike against a character unit. So that's really appealing, because a 7-inch charge with a CP reroll if necessary, significantly better chances than a 9-inch charge. So what are your thoughts on doing that?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a fun little way of giving a little bit of a scare to your opponent. I compare him to the Solitaire, the Harlequin Solitaire, because that's essentially basically what he is he's just a heat-seeking missile that's going to go straight for something and kill it. Yeah, he's different. I still think he probably is better off in a unit to start off with in the game, like an Assault Intercessors or something like that, but it is kind of fun and thematic to throw on something like the Deep Strike onto the Emperor's Champion and then I'm just go to town.
Yeah.
Now you have to be careful, because if you drop in too close and there's nothing else closer, then
he can get shot.
They can just shot and killed.
Yeah.
But there's that. But yeah, that Deep Strike, once you dig down into it, there's a lot of things that you can throw onto it to kind of bring you in. I mean, really, you could put it on an Ancient and put it on something like the Infernus Squads, or you can put it on a Gravis Captain and Aggressors, and you can do a whole bunch of different things with it to really.
I was also thinking about the Gravis Captain. People like to run him solo because he's so durable. Obviously, in Gladius and some other detachments, he's better than he is in other detachments solo, because they have defensive enhancements that he can take, like Artificer Armor, for example. But people still like to run him just by himself, and being able to deep strike him in, and be just an annoying thing is something that you can now do in this detachment with him. So yeah, there's a plethora of uses for the deep strike enhancement, which I like.
Yeah. So to kind of recap it all, thematic detachment, not competitive.
Thematic, 10 out of 10.
I'm sure there's someone's going to come and find
competitive, not so much. Yeah, I agree. I think there's some cool things you can do in here. I think there's some good abilities in here, but it's too restrictive. It being tied too much to a unit archetype that is bad makes the detachment overall bad. If Ancients, like I said, if Ancients got better, like their data sheets got better to the point where you consider them just on their own merit, then the stock on this detachment goes up significantly. I think our Crusade Ancient, if he gets a points cut, I like him. I think if he goes to 50, I really like him at 50 points. At 65, it's a much tougher pill to swallow. I'd consider running more than one at 50 points. 65 is just like, because now it's like, it's an extra 30 points for two guys versus, two regular Ancients. So I don't think he's that much better than the regular Ancient, that he's 15 points more. So, and the Ancient himself, the regular Ancient, is really not worth 50 points. Like, the Blade Guard should probably be like 35, and the regular Ancient should be like 45. So, um, yeah.
Even himself, Feel No Pain is just atrocious.
Who cares? Like, I'd
Getting
rather.
plus one OC is not worth 40 points.
No. No. Especially because the things that you're going to want to put him on, or, you know, are mostly going to be OC2 anyway. I mean, yeah, there's other units that, like Stern Guard or whatever, he could go with, but why would you care? You'd rather have like a captain or something with Stern Guard. You know, so yeah. So that's the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube algorithm things. Don't forget to check out our Patreon as well. Really great benefits on our Patreon, like exclusive Discord roles, behind the scenes videos, that sort of stuff. Check it out at Implausible Nature patreon.com/implausible nature. We have a really great Discord, really active community, a lot of great discussion going on there every day. So don't forget to check us out there. And until next time, keep on crusading.